Hey, Composing Gloves here, and today we're getting into some cool exercises now. Even though these are a little bit ahead of our time, we are doing some chord melody exercises. I'm going to ask you to start harmonizing things. I think this cannot be introduced soon enough. It's the fun stuff to do that makes music meaningful. So we have instructions for each exercise. So I wrote down a melody. I wrote this melody, and I think it's a pretty cool melody. It sounds like this. So as you know, it's kind of like that weird, like, oh. So should be pretty fun to work with, right? So we have instructions for this exercise. Pick chords that go with the melody. And I'll talk about that just a sec. Write the chord symbols above each chord. So you're going to do an analysis once you pick your chords that are going to go with it. In other words, harmonize this melody. So when you make chords go with the melody, you have harmonized the melody. Perform, and then there's like a part two. After you've done this, perform a Roman numeral analysis. So you've picked your chords, and you got to do this second because you don't know what chords you're going to pick. So some people, what they'll do is they'll do their Roman numeral analysis and they'll pick their chords using the Roman numeral analysis. This is stuff that we'll get into with part writing and harmony too. If a chord is not diatonic, meaning you picked a chord, because you don't have to remain diatonic, it's like totally optional, but I encourage it. But if a chord is not diatonic, just write chromatic because we haven't really talked about how to deal with these. And then if it is a diversion from the natural minor scale, meaning it's still diatonic but you used a different minor scale, then please write it. Like, say you use the harmonic with the raised seventh, and that's why it's the harmonic scale. So, and I do this in my example. But first, before I show you my example, let me do just a little bit with you. So we say, okay, let's just do the first bar. It's really easy. And I'll show you some options you have when we go to the example. So we look at our notes here over time. So we have this melody and we see all these notes. It's kind of scary. So we say, well, what chord could go with this melody? And I expect you to write the chords in the bass clef. So we say, okay, well, we've got an A, a C, and an E. We say, that sounds like a C minor scale. And if we were to put these all on top of each other, it looks like C minor, A minor. And we're like, oh, this is A minor. And if we were to look at this key, we'd actually find like, hey, we are running around in A minor, sort of. So we say, okay, this is an A minor chord, so I'm going to pick an A minor chord to go with it. It's the one chord. It makes a lot of sense to start with the one chord if this piece is in A minor. So we put down our new notes, and I'm just going to fill out the whole bar because it stays A minor the whole time. This is called harmonic rhythm. It's the rate and the way at which you change chords. We'll get more into it later. It's one of those subjects that sort of just melds itself in with other topics. So we'll put down an A. Now we got to pick an octave, right? So we have this A up here, or this A down here, because we're only dealing with root position. Later on, this becomes, you have like a million options after we get through inversions. And when you add sevenths and suspend chords, then it's like, oh my gosh, you have like way too many options. So we're going to put down an A. I'm going to go low. So I'm gonna run with an A minor chord down here. So I'd write my chord symbol as A minor. In my Roman numeral analysis, I use the lyric tool for it, so Control L, because then it scrolls through where the notes are. And I'm just gonna put a 1 or a capital I for 1. And now this is the 1 chord. Whoops, this is minor though, so it's a 1. And if we play it. And so I'm going to let you do the next one, but I want to show you one with like a couple of things going on. So let's say we wanted to do this one. Well, here I'd probably have a chord for the first 2 beats and a different chord for the second 2 beats. When you're picking chords, you usually look at the chord that lands on the stronger beat. So this is in 4/4, so it's 1 2 3 4 2. And in reality, it's more like 1 2 3 4, where 3 is slightly stronger than 2 and 4. So you'd pick a chord that goes with this note mostly, but we see here this is sort of a weird deal. We haven't really talked about chords that really fit this yet. So I would look at a chord that fits this a little bit stronger. You may use this, you get different results. Or you may have a chord for every single one of these beats, so it's not even a problem. But you have a lot of options. So this will be included in the description. Let's go over to my example. So here's one that I did and completed. And if we play it, this is what I settled on. And remember, harmonic rhythm, you don't have to use whole notes. That's kind of lame sometimes. So I decided to just put a little doom. And again, your stuff that you write should be able to be played reasonably easily by a skilled piano player. Like if you're writing stuff that, oh yeah, this piano player is going to have to work for hours, your music is lame because no one's going to want to play it. I found that out when I was new. I was like doing all this weird stuff. Just don't do the weird stuff. Usually it's a way out of doing this anyways, or trying to find like cheating or something. So here you go. So I think it's pretty cool. So I chose these chords to go. You may choose different chords. And the way I dealt with it was like again, I didn't feel like a whole note here really established the feeling that I wanted. So I did different. Now I could have gone even further and added dynamic markings. And I mean, we have some ties here, but I could have added slurs to indicate phrasing and all this stuff. I didn't want to get like crazy and be super detailed. And sometimes you kind of constrain the musician to play it a very specific way, which is great if you want them to play it a very specific way. But it's also kind of fun to let them interpret it too. So there's like some people put down every little marking they can to be as specific as possible. Some people put down markings to give a general idea, but expect you to be musical with it. If you're doing MIDI composition, you have to be as specific as possible because the computer's going to play it the same way every time. And then... yeah, so I didn't put like dynamic markings or anything yet, but there is a tempo marking, which you see we're moving at 180 beats per minute. You can get to the tempo markings in the tempo subcategory here. And then down here, I use the G sharp, and so I have a raised G sharp, so it's a diminished chord, which is a harmonic minor thing. That comes from the harmonic minor. If it was natural minor, this would be a major chord actually. So, but it's not. Because then it would be GBD, but I chose G sharp. And so it is the raised seventh, and it matches what was going on up here, so I thought, why not? But anyways, that's just one example. This will also be included if you get stuck, but don't copy my example. Come up with your own deal. There's like an infinite amount of various ways you could do this. You could get fancier too. If you would like, you can use broken chords. I kind of don't want you to at this stage, but I could have written like dun, 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 one of those things over the line. And that would have been fine as well. But make sure you mark it. And if you were to go like eighth notes up and down through this whole measure, it would still all just be the one chord. So you can do that as well. I tried to just keep mine all stacked so that it's very, we're working up in blocks. If you have any questions about this stuff, let me know. Subscribe. Support me on Patreon because this is like taking more time than I thought it would. And have a blessed day.